Good evening, everybody. I am John Check of Baseball Central here today to discuss day two of the winter meetings. And what was looking like it was going to be a slow day has absolutely sped up over the last hour or so. Bunch of trades have gone on. Big free agent signings. Ben Zobrist has a home. Starlin Castro might now has a new home, and Shelby Miller has now been officially traded. And there's a little couple of minor trades and signings that went on today. First, let's start what's been going on in the last hour, some of the craziness that's going on. First, the Chicago Cubs have locked up Ben Zobrist to a 4-year, $56 million deal. The deal includes a 3-year full no-trade clause, a fourth year that gets removed. Ben Zobrist goes back to playing for his old skipper that he played with for a long time in Tampa Bay. Al Leiter said something outstanding today on MLB Network saying that essentially Joe Maddon made Ben Zobrist to the super utility guy that can just play every position on the field and essentially got him paid for what he got today from the Chicago Cubs. This kind of came as a surprise because Zobrist, as I said in yesterday's video, was expected to either sign with the Mets, Nationals, or Giants. But today the Cubs came in, and I think, Zobrist chose the Cubs simply for the fact that Joe Maddon's there. Playing for his former skipper, playing for a guy he's comfortable with, and playing for a team he knows that can win now and in the near future, and he wants to win a World Series with the Cubs. I mean, who doesn't? There's been 10 decades of players trying to do that. So this is a great move for the Cubs. I mean, they get someone that can play all over the field. He's going to fit nicely at second base. He can play in some outfield because they still need an outfielder. I mean, they could play him some third. They could just play him anywhere. So for him to go back to a place where he's comfortable with having Joe Maddon as a skipper, a place where he's going to play second base where he wants to play, and really what the Cubs paid $456. It was a rumor that he had a 4-year, $80 million contract on the table. But obviously, that was not the case for him to only sign for 4 years, $56. So the money's not bad. They had to guarantee him at least 3 years, full no-trade clause. So it's a solid move for the Cubs, picking up Ben Zobrist, and he's going to fit in there very nicely. Now, there was a repercussion move for that. Since the Cubs got Ben Zobrist, they had to free up some infield diamond space, trading Starlin Castro to the New York Yankees for Adam Warren and Brendan Ryan. It was rumored earlier, it's been rumored for really the last couple of years, that the Cubs, you usually heard about this every year. They're going to trade Starlin Castro. And they finally traded Starlin Castro. And I really like this move for the Yankees because the Yankees have finally done something that they haven't done and haven't been able to achieve. They got a young, cost-controlled guy with some upside still left kind of player. And they needed a second baseman. They had the third worst production out of their second baseman in baseball last year. I think their second baseman combined hit like 223 as a team. They weren't good. Then they've had since Robbie Cano left, it's been a revolving door at second base. They had Rob Repschneider and they had Steven Drew playing there, and obviously Brendan Ryan played there, and Dustin Ackley's played there. It's just been a revolving door at second base. Now, Starlin Castro gives you some flexibility. He can play some shortstop need be if Didi Gregorius needs a blow. Obviously he's going to be your second baseman. But this kind of, for me, I thought the Yankees were going to end up sending over Brett Gardner the deal because the Cubs needed a center fielder. But they gave up Adam Warren, who was a swingman for the Yankees. He was a part-time starter / reliever. And now the Cubs can use Adam Warren as either reliever or starter. If I'm the Cubs, I'm going to start him out of the rotation to start the year because Warren was pitching pretty well out of the rotation until they moved him back into the bullpen when they got Nova back from injury and whatnot. And this is a really good move for the Yankees. Like I said, they finally get some young cost control talent because Castro's contract is not bad. It's only 4 years, I think, at $38 million left. So, I mean, for the Yankees, $438, that's cheap. That's extremely cheap. And now they get a guy that, he's going to give us some versatility, can play some short, give him some second. He's very young still. He still has upside left on him because he's only going to be turning 26 next year. This is the exact kind of move the Yankees have needed to make for the last couple of years. Attempts to get younger, attempts to get cheaper talent, and that's exactly what Starlin Castro gives him. Now, in the Cubs aspect of this, what do they do with Javier Baez? What do they do with Jorge Soler? Because my biggest thing is, what are they going to do with Javier Baez? Because it was rumored that they were going to deal Baez to the Rays for potentially Jake McGee or Brandon Boxberger. Now, would they do that, give up Baez, and give up even more of the infield depth? Because I know they got Brendan Ryan, but Brendan Ryan isn't Javier Baez. Do they give up more of their infield depth to go get another reliever? Especially when they just got Adam Warren out of the deal, a guy that's shown he could pitch effectively either out of the rotation or the bullpen. Now, that's the biggest thing I'm wondering where this is going to lead to. Essentially because Ben Zobrist, he already said he preferred to play second, and I guarantee you that's where Joe Madden is going to play him most times, is at second base. So what does this do to Jorge Soler, and what does this do to Javier Baez? So, Castro to the New York Yankees. Great move for the Yankees. They get a young, cost-controlled guy that has some upside left. Only 4 years, $38 million left. Cubs sign Ben Zobrist for 4 years, $56 million. So it's essentially a Zobrist for Castro swap is all it was. Yankees get their second baseman. Zobrist back to the Cubs, gets to play for Zobrist to the Cubs, gets to play for his former skipper, provide the Cubs for some versatility, and watch the Cubs go and they're not done yet. Because they still might deal Javi Baez, and they might deal Jorge Soler. So the Cubs, I think, are far from done. Maybe not in this winter meetings, but they're far from done for this offseason when it comes to trading some of their talent away. Now, let's go to the Diamondbacks. Got Shelby Miller. Now, it was rumored that the price tag for Shelby Miller was pretty high, and the Diamondbacks were in on him. Well, throughout the day, talks had fallen off, and I guess the Diamondbacks were out. Well, the talks heated back up. The Diamondbacks absolutely had to pay the price for Shelby Miller. Everyone was talking about Jose Fernandez's price being high. Well, Shelby Miller's price was not too far off. The Diamondbacks, to acquire Shelby Miller, had to give up their number one pick from last year, Dansby Swanson. They had to give up Aaron Blair and Ender Inciarte. Now, Dansby Swanson out of Vanderbilt was he was a stud. An absolute stud last year, and he's a quality player. Now they acquire Aaron Blair, who's a top 40 prospect, and Ender Inciarte, who's not bad at all. Looking at this first from the Braves side of it, John Hart, who is getting criticized a lot for trading away so much of their talent, has absolutely done a great job. He has done a quietly great job at rebuilding this team. Now, you're not going to see the benefits or truly how good the Braves are potentially built to be, because a lot of their guys, their Tyrell Jenkins, Sean Newcomb, all these guys that they've acquired are guys that, are a year or two away from truly affecting the Braves, their everyday roster. But, they traded Andrelton Simmons, and now they got Dansby Swanson to replace him in the near future. And Dansby Swanson, he's a five-tool guy. And now their rotation, they deal Shelby Miller, but now they're going to have Terrell Jenkins, and now they're going to have Aaron Blair and Sean Newcomb and Julio Teheran to round out that rotation in the near future. And these are guys that are all guys that have 1 through 3 kind of stuff. So frontline starting stuff is all these guys are rumored to have. So, John Hart, who has dealt all this talent, has done an absolute outstanding job at acquiring some young talent for in the next 2 years. They could be how the Cubs are right now, where everyone's like, man, they're dealing, and then, they built through the draft, getting, Javier, and in international signings, getting Javier Baez and Jorge Soler, and drafting Chris Bryant, and trading for Addison Russell, and then trading for Anthony Rizzo, and getting Kyle Schwarber, just waiting a couple years where, you're going to have Freddie Freeman and Dansby Swanson, and then you look at how good the potential young rotation that the Braves are going to have. So John Hart has done an outstanding job rebuilding his farm system and making teams pay for the former Braves regime's picks that they locked up to long-term deals. Now, looking at this from the D-backs side of it, the D-backs are pretty much this year's Padres. Now, I think the D-backs are in a better position than the Padres are, though, from last year when they acquired James Shields and Matt Kemp and Derek Norris and Will Myers and Justin Upton. I think this crop of players that the Diamondbacks have is a lot better than the crop of players than the Padres built off of last year. Because you look at this, the Diamondbacks were one of the best defensive teams in the NL last year. The Diamondbacks were the second best offensive team in the NL last year. They not only keep A.J. Pollock, so they got to keep him. They still have Jake Lamb. They still got Paul Goldschmidt at first, which is absolutely, one of the best hitters in the NL. It's an absolute great. Oh, and they got Yomani Tomas as well. So, I mean, you're talking about a team that was already a good defensive team. You're talking about a team that was second, a good defensive team. You're talking about a team that was the second best hitting team in the NL. And now you're adding Zach Greinke. You got Shelby Miller. You got Patrick Corbin, you got Archie Bradley, and then they're rumored to be in on Mike Leake. So, and then they still got Robbie Ray, they still got Ruby De La Rosa, they still got Chase Anderson. So they have a lot of starting pitching depth. And that top of their rotation, Zach Greinke, Patrick Corbin, Archie Bradley, that is not a bad, Shelby Miller, that is not a bad 1 through 4 whatsoever. So one of their biggest faults last year has just become a potential strength for them because they have that ace, they have a great supplemental number 2 guy to slot right in right behind Greinke and Shelby Miller, and Patrick Corbin was a stud before he got hurt. Archie Bradley pre-injury numbers were extremely good, and they got plenty of depth for their 5th spot in the rotation as well. So the Diamondbacks are going for it, and honestly, on paper, I think they're more impressive than the San Francisco Giants. They are. I don't know how you can make a case for the Giants being better than the Arizona Diamondbacks with this newfound rotation. I don't know if you could say they're better than the Dodgers. That's going to be hard to say right this second because the Dodgers, you look at their pitching staff, and it's not all that impressive, even with Hisashi Wakuma and Clayton Kershaw. I mean, you just got so much injury concern with Hyun-Jin Ryu and Brandon McCarthy, and Brett Anderson finally pitched a full, healthy season. So, I mean, there's some concern about that, and what are you going to get out of Alex Wood? And but I think you could honestly make the argument that they could compete with the Dodgers for that division next year. I think they're better than the Giants. They're definitely better than the Padres. So the Diamondbacks have put themselves in position to definitely not only contend for a wild card, but to definitely get the Dodgers run for the money. Because not only did they sign the Dodgers' second best pitcher, to frontline their staff, they've added some quality arms behind him to a team that was already really good last year. I mean, they were a sub 500 team, but they had plenty of talent on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. So Dave Stewart's done a great job. Now, mind you, he paid quite a haul to get Shelby Miller, but he did get to keep A.J. Pollock, and he does have Peralta and Jake Lamb and Yasmani Tomas and Paul Goldschmidt. So they paid quite a bit to get Shelby Miller, but that rotation has improved greatly, and their team and their rotation depth is really good. And the Diamondbacks are going to give the Dodgers a run for their money next year in 2016. I just still can't believe what John Hart has been able to do, flipping these guys that he has over the last couple of years. What he's gotten in return for the Craig Kimbrels, what he's gotten in return for Jason Hayward, and Andrelton Simmons. He's done a great job. Like I said, they're a year or two away from truly seeing, what these moves are truly going to do for the Braves moving forward. But he's done a great job, building something potentially there for the long haul. So you got to give John Hart a lot of credit, especially getting Dansby Swanson. I don't even want to know what Jose Fernandez's price is if they had to pay that much for Dansby just to get Shelby Miller. The Padres today traded Jed Jerko to the St. Louis Cardinals for John Jay, and this one kind of perplexed me because I know why they traded Jay to the Padres, because they needed more outfield depth. Now, Jay's been a guy that's been inconsistent. He's been hurt. He's had good defensive years. He's had bad defensive years. He's had some success with the stick, but he's going to give the Padres some solidarity in center field to go along with the prospect they acquired from the Red Sox in the Craig Kimbrel trade, Margot. Uh, so I mean, I understand that part of it, and they were looking to dump some of Jed Jerko's salary. They're going to eat a couple. I think they're eating like $7 or $8 million of that deal for him to go to the Cardinals. But what I don't get is the Cardinals aspect of it, because they have Colton Wong at second already, so he's not going anywhere, and then they have Matt Carpenter at third, and he isn't going anywhere already. So do they really trade John Jay for an infield depth piece that they're gonna play at multiple positions at second and third? And so I don't really get that. So they traded John Jay for a potential bench depth bat. So, or are they planning to move Colton Wong? And I don't know if I would move Colton Wong to slot Jed Jerko in as my full-time second baseman. I mean, Jerko has shown he has good power, but he has also shown he strikes out a lot and he doesn't make consistent contact. So I don't know if I would make that move to do that. So is John Jay really too much, to give up for Jed Jerko if you're going to just use him as a bench bat? I mean, who knows, considering that the Padres are throwing in some kind of money anyways to eat some of that remaining contract that Jerko is owed. But I get it from the Padres side of it. Need more outfield depth, and I get it for that aspect, but the Cardinal side of it, to acquire Jed Jerko, I mean, I know he's got pop. Maybe they're just looking for a bat off the bench with some pop that can plays third and second. So that's the only way I could really rationalize that deal. But nonetheless, it was a solid move. I like it more from the Padres side than I do the Cardinals side, because they did need outfield depth. And then really the only other move that was really the main move of the day before, about an hour and a half ago, was the Rockies had signed Chad Qualls and Jason Mott each to 2-year deals to help their bullpen. And this is not a bad move for the Rockies at all. I mean, anytime the Rockies can add any kind of pitching depth, especially to their bullpen. I mean, because it's so hard to find people to pitch in Colorado, and they have pitching problems every single year. I mean, it's just conducive to their ballpark, and players and pitchers just don't want to pitch there because of their ballpark and how the ball flies. So, Jack Walls was really good. He wasn't bad last year. Jason Mott had some success with the Cubs. He hasn't really been as good as he was since he was a Cardinal. So this move, it's not a bad move whatsoever for the Rockies. I mean, they get two guys. Qualls obviously being better than Mott, but they get two guys to help their bullpen, and it certainly doesn't hurt. They didn't pay too much for either or one of those guys. So the Rockies are trying to bolster their bullpen, and it was a low signing move for low cost signing move for both guys, and it was a solid move. So I don't really see any harm in trying to bolster their bullpen, even if Mott isn't as good as he used to be, and Chad Qualls has had mixed results over the last couple of years. So that's about it. So to recap, Ben Zobrist to the Cubs, 4 years, $56 million. Starlin Castro gets traded to the New York Yankees for Adam Warren and Brendan Ryan. Jed Jerko is going to the St. Louis Cardinals for John Jay. And Shelby Miller is going to the Arizona Diamondbacks along with Gabe Spire for Dansby Swanson, Ender Inciarte, and Aaron Blair. So that's all it was for day 2 at the winter meetings. It was a slow day until about an hour ago, and then the hot stove got scorching hot. Absolutely exciting day. More guys off the boards, and a lot of trades going down, especially in the last hour. So I got for you guys today. As always, check out Baseball Central for all the latest and best analysis for breaking down all the latest news. Check out baseballcentral.com. I am John Check. I will see you guys tomorrow.